I told y'all, the media is so smart. They're going to make you so distracted with celebrity names that you're not going to focus on the problem. You think every party that Diddy ever threw was a freak off and people were fucking and slipping and sliding on baby oil? No! That man had birthday parties. That man had Easter gatherings. That man had Super Bowl parties. That man had Christmas parties, Halloween parties, regular parties. And so now they're saying Mom Donnie's mom, who's a filmmaker, they're like, oh, she's on the Epstein list because she was on a guest list for Ghislaine Maxwell's like showing of a political film once. Hey, you're distracted. You just want Mom Donnie to be a bad guy or his mom. A girl can go to a movie premiere. You think Ghislaine Maxwell?
Jay-Z, Pusha T, and Elon Musk are all being mentioned in newly released Jeffrey Epstein-related files, and now Lizzo has entered the chat telling people they're focused on the wrong thing. This is one of those moments where celebrity culture, real-world allegations, and internet speculation collide hard, and everybody is picking sides before reading a single page. The names alone are enough to send social media into meltdown mode, and that's exactly what happened overnight, with timelines flooded, fan bases panicking, and critics saying, "Here we go again." This story is not about guilt being proven. It's about why these names are surfacing, how people are reacting, and what's actually in these documents versus what fans are running with. Now let's get into the receipts, because context matters. The files people are talking about come from a recent document release tied to the broader Epstein investigation. And before anybody jumps out the window, being mentioned does not automatically mean charged, accused, or proven to have done anything. The blind item reads like a compilation of names referenced in tips, logs, contacts, or third-party statements submitted over the years. In Jay-Z and Pusha T's case, their names are being discussed online because they appear in public call-in tips and unverified statements, not because there are confirmed travel logs, photos, or financial records tying them directly to Epstein's operations. Elon Musk's name, on the other hand, is being debated because of previously reported communications and scheduling references that people feel contradict his public denials, and that contrast is what reignited the outrage. Let's be real for a second, because social media does not do nuance well at all. The moment people see Epstein files and a famous name in the same sentence, it's guilty until proven innocent on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. That's not how investigations work, and it really makes you wonder how fast misinformation spreads when emotions are involved. Jay-Z's name trending doesn't mean new evidence suddenly dropped proving wrongdoing. What it means is that people are rehashing old rumors, anonymous tips, and speculation that law enforcement itself has not verified. That distinction keeps getting lost, and it's creating chaos that feeds clicks more than truth. Pusha T being mentioned has also confused a lot of people because, unlike Jay-Z, there's no long public narrative connecting him to Epstein in the mainstream. According to the documents being discussed online, his name appears through a third-party claim submitted to authorities years ago with no corroborating evidence attached. That's not no light work to put on somebody's name, especially when the hip-hop community already deals with selective outrage and uneven scrutiny. Again, that doesn't mean the claim is true, but it also doesn't mean it should be weaponized without verification. This is where people need to slow down and actually read what's being said instead of reacting to headlines. Elon Musk's situation is different in the public's eyes because he's been very vocal about denying any meaningful connection to Epstein, and critics are pulling up old emails, calendar references, and social interactions to challenge those denials. People online are saying this proves dishonesty, while his supporters argue none of it shows criminal behavior. Somewhere in the middle is the reality that association does not equal participation, but repeated contact after Epstein's conviction raises questions for a lot of folks. That's why Elon keeps getting pulled back into this conversation every time new documents surface, even when there's nothing legally new attached. Now enter Lizzo, because this is where the conversation shifts. Lizzo reacted publicly to Jay-Z and other celebrities being mentioned, and her take was blunt. She essentially said people are distracted by celebrity names instead of focusing on the real issue, which is systemic abuse, power structures, and the broader network that allowed Epstein to operate for as long as he did. She also referenced the Diddy case, drawing a parallel between how the public obsesses over famous faces instead of unpacking how these environments are created and protected. That statement alone set people off, because now it's not just about documents, it's about how we talk about abuse and accountability. If this is true, it's very concerning how quickly narratives get twisted. Lizzo wasn't defending anyone, she was criticizing the culture of name-chasing. But of course, the internet heard what it wanted to hear, and suddenly she's being accused of deflecting, protecting elites, or minimizing victims. That's the danger of soundbite culture. You can say something thoughtful and still get dragged because people are emotionally primed to react, not listen. Her point was uncomfortable because it forces people to look past their favorite villains and ask harder questions. There's also the issue of timing, because these files didn't drop in a vacuum. They're coming out at a moment when trust in institutions is low, celebrity scandals are nonstop, and people already feel like powerful figures never face consequences. So when Jay-Z's name shows up anywhere near Epstein, fans feel betrayed, and critics feel validated, even if the information itself hasn't changed. That emotional context is fueling the outrage more than the documents themselves, and that's something people don't want to admit. Now, I have to say this clearly. There is no confirmation in these documents that Jay-Z or Pusha T committed crimes connected to Epstein, and that's where I'm going to use this once and only time. Some of the online claims being pushed are allegedly based on anonymous tips with no supporting evidence. That matters. You can hold space for victims while still demanding accuracy. Both things can exist at the same time, and pretending otherwise helps nobody. The fallout from these names being circulated didn't stop at think pieces and reaction videos, because once the initial shock wore off, the fan bases went into defense and attack mode. Jay-Z supporters immediately started pulling receipts from past investigations, pointing out that his name has never appeared on verified flight logs, island guest lists, or financial records connected to Epstein. They're arguing that this is another case of a powerful black man being dragged into a narrative without concrete proof. On the flip side, critics are saying silence doesn't equal innocence, and being mentioned at all is reason enough to ask questions. That back and forth has turned timelines into war zones, with people talking past each other instead of actually addressing what's in the documents. What's interesting is how Pusha T's name quietly slid into the conversation without the same level of mainstream coverage. Hip-hop blogs mentioned it, but major outlets didn't push it as hard, and that alone has people raising eyebrows. It really makes you wonder why some names trend worldwide while others stay contained within niche circles. Fans are asking if this is about star power, influence, or simply who generates more clicks. Pusha T hasn't addressed anything publicly, and that silence has been interpreted in completely opposite ways depending on who you ask. Some see it as smart legal restraint, others see it as suspicious, and that split tells you everything about how polarized this discussion has become. Elon Musk, meanwhile, did what Elon Musk usually does. He responded indirectly, liking posts and boosting commentary that frames the situation as media manipulation and overreach. His supporters are saying this is proof that the Epstein files are being used as a blunt instrument to smear people without due process. His critics are saying this is exactly how powerful men dodge accountability by turning everything into a culture war. Let's be real for a second, because Elon's online behavior does not calm anything down. It throws gasoline on the fire. Every vague response just creates 10 more theories, and that's exactly why his name stays trending whenever this topic resurfaces. Now, Lizzo's comments continued to ripple too, especially after people re-watched her exact wording instead of reacting to screenshots. Some viewers admitted she had a point about celebrity fixation overshadowing systemic issues, but others doubled down, saying calling names is the only way power structures ever get exposed. That tension is important because it shows a real divide in how people think justice should work. Is public scrutiny the tool that forces accountability, or does it become a distraction that muddies real investigations? That question is hanging over this entire situation, and nobody has a clean answer. Behind the scenes, industry insiders are reportedly saying that a lot of artists are nervous right now, not because they're guilty, but because association culture is brutal. Being mentioned once can haunt your career forever, even if nothing comes of it legally. That fear is why so many celebrities stay quiet when these files drop. They don't want to amplify their own names by denying something that hasn't been formally alleged in court. That's not an admission of guilt. It's a survival strategy in an era where headlines move faster than facts. There's also the media responsibility angle, which people are starting to question more loudly. Some outlets are careful to say mentioned in files, while others run with more sensational framing that blurs the line between documentation and accusation. That's not no light work, because wording shapes public perception. Once a narrative sticks, retractions don't travel as far as the initial claim. That's why this conversation feels so messy, because the information itself is being filtered through bias, clicks, and outrage economics. Another layer here is how this ties into other ongoing high-profile cases, like the Diddy situation Lizzo referenced. People are connecting dots that may or may not belong together, creating a larger story about entertainment, power, and abuse. Some of those connections are worth examining carefully, but others are pure speculation driven by distrust of elites. The danger is when everything gets lumped together, real victims can get drowned out by noise, and that's something nobody should want. What we're also seeing is selective skepticism. Some fans demand ironclad proof before believing anything negative about their favorite artist, while accepting the thinnest claims against people they already dislike. That inconsistency undermines serious conversations about accountability. If this is true, it's very concerning how fandom loyalty can override principles. Justice can't be situational. It either matters across the board or it doesn't. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do you feel like these Epstein files discussions are helping uncover truth, or do you think they're being used to recycle old rumors and drag names without resolution? And also, do you agree with Lizzo that celebrities